whose focus was climate change, Johan Eliasch. Johan, you are one of the wealthiest people in the United Kingdom, but what caught my eye when I was reading about you is that you're using your wealth for something a little bit different than what we're used to here. So can you explain a little bit about what you've done in the rainforest?
Yeah, so growing up as a kid, I always had a fascination about rainforests, the biodiversity, the life that goes on in the rainforest, and how important it is for the planet. They are the lungs of the earth. They account for a big part of CO2 emissions by far too much, and we'll get to that, I'm sure, later. And it's the rainforest is so important for our atmosphere, for maintaining the atmosphere, and also for food and water security for billions of people around the planet. So I had an idea that it would be possible to conserve rainforests through a very simple method, and that was simply to give harvesting rights to fruits and nuts in the rainforest to the local indigenous population. So the pressures here are particularly on the outskirts of the rainforest, where industrial activity, cattle, beef, ranchers, sugarcane, all these industrial efforts, people need land. And in the end, it's about land use. And by making the local indigenous population, giving them a livelihood that mattered to them, they became the custodians of the rainforest. And this has been going for 20 years. The deforestation rate has gone down to zero. It also became part of a UN protocol, which is called Reduced Emissions from Degradation and Deforestation, which has been going for quite some time. The only problem is, and this was instituted in the Paris Agreement in 2015, is that there is no funding available for it. So governments around the world have not provided any funding to make this happen, which is sad. So this is where private individuals can make a real difference. Other people like me could do more in this area, and it would be very impactful and can actually immediately contribute to solving this problem, which for mankind is an existential threat.
So basically, you have the rainforest that was being well. You have the rainforest that is at risk of deforestation. You decided to step in on an individual basis and buy up portions of the rainforest, and then allow usage of that land to indigenous tribes. But in effect, it would protect that land from being deforested. Is that correct?
Exactly. So what I did here is to make this the local indigenous people's livelihood. So they really cared because this is what they live from. And this has made an economy, a microeconomy in these land areas where people live off this. And it works. And this you can do anywhere on the planet. You can do it in Africa, you can do it in the Congo Basin, for instance. You can do it in the Far East. It's the same formula, and it's a very simple, easy formula.
Has the government in Brazil, for example, been a good partner for you in terms of doing this, or is this, or has the government in Brazil been hostile to these actions, or have they allowed more of this deforestation to occur?
So the Brazilian people care deeply about the rainforest. This is something they care probably more about than even soccer games. And
Yeah,
that tells you something. Unfortunately, it's not quite the same with the politicians.
right.
And this has become, for other reasons, whether it's party political funding for most of the political parties, and also a bit of posturing when it comes to the climate change convention of parties. And here, out of interest, point out that they are the only nation with rainforest who are not a member of the coalition of rainforest nations, which tell you something. They want to do their own thing,
Right.
and they think that they should not be bullied into anything by rich industrialized nations. And of course, they shouldn't be bullied into it. But we have a problem that we can only solve together. Industrialized nations, developing nations, and rainforest nations must come together to solve this problem.
Aside from folks like you, individuals who are buying up portions of the rainforest in an effort to protect them, is there any valid or effective campaign to protect these areas that, to your exact point, are existential to the continuation of humanity?
I mean, if you think about it, it's so stupid. I mean, here we are, we breathe every day, we take that for
Yeah.
granted. And the rainforest is critical for the atmosphere. And without an atmosphere, we're, we vanish immediately.
Right.
So if we had any sense, we would prioritize this, but we don't. So all we can do here is spread awareness, put pressure on governments, politicians to make things happen.
Is this a is this a profitable enterprise for you?
No, I don't. This is a not for profit exercise. It costs money, but it's something I'm very happy to give towards because of the importance.
Has what you've done in the rainforest offered anything of an incentive structure for other folks, other wealthy individuals to kind of replicate these actions?
I think there are many foundations, charitable organizations that are beginning to do the same thing, and in fact, some have been doing it for quite some time. Um, and the challenge here is to be effective, and this is why I founded something called Cool Earth, together with a British politician called Frank Field, later Lord Field. And the idea was to replicate what I had done, but make it available to individuals. And that organization is called Cool Earth, www.coolearth.org. And it basically does the same thing on all continents and making it possible for individuals through small contributions to make a difference.
Is that effort able to withstand maybe more hostile actions by the government? If the governments decide to come in and usurp this land that the individuals have purchased, has that been able to withstand anything like that, or has it not even gotten that to that point?
No, I think governments, no, I can't say any governments have done
Okay.
on a federal level things of that kind. Sometimes on a local city level or state level in countries, there can be fun and games going on to for certain purposes, like if you have elections, politicians threatening to yeah, put lots of people into the area to put even more pressures
Yeah.
in order to get contributions or get some sort of endorsement. It's very important to stand firm here and make it very clear that this is an effort for the good of mankind and that they should respect that.
So you're using your wealth to buy up portions of the rainforest to protect it from deforestation. You've got other billionaires, like some very prominent ones here in the United States, who've used their wealth not to not to further the cause of protecting the rainforest and combating climate change, but rather to invest in space companies or buy up newspapers or buy up social media sites, whatever it may be. You've got like the space race between Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, and so. Can you talk a little bit about the priorities that some of the wealthiest individuals in the United States have, kind of in contrast to what you've decided to do with your funds?
Well, we only have one planet, and it wasn't designed for 8.5 billion people living the way we do. And herein lies the problem. And if we don't do anything about these issues. And we already see with these severe weather uh, uh, impacts that we get, which, yeah, with great loss of life, great destruction, and this is something we must prevent. And the biodiversity is one thing. The other one is if you cut rainforest in one place, rain starts falling in new places, perhaps the wrong places. You get migration, you get conflicts, it leads to wars.
Yeah.
And that's happened many times throughout the history. And recently, the Darfur crisis, you can draw direct correlation between deforestation and that conflict, which led to the loss of 2 million lives.
What do you attribute the apathy among the folks who do have the wealth and the power to do something about climate change? What do you attribute that apathy to?
I think people pick causes which are close to their hearts and minds. Um, and I think here it's, in my case, I picked this particular course because A, I had a passion for the rainforest since childhood, but also because I saw how impactful my contributions could be. And it created awareness, it created a formula to build upon. And of course, the more people that do the same as I do, the better it will be for the planet and for mankind. I mean, the planet will always be here, but the planet is very unique. There is no other planet Earth, not maybe not in the entire reachable universe. Even if we come up with an Alcubierre drive or something spectacular, so we can travel at the speed of light. But even so, there are this planet is so unique the way it's engineered. Um, so we have to be we have to be very careful.
Do you think it's misguided then for someone like Elon Musk to spend the majority of his time focusing on interplanetary travel when the reality is that, if humanity has any chance of surviving, it's going to be here, and that the efforts would be better placed not ushering in right-wing governments that deny the existence of climate change, and spending money on other projects that ultimately are just for-profit ventures when you've got this existential risk staring us right in the face, and in fact, helping right-wing governments is only exacerbating the acceleration toward that existential crisis.
Exactly, and if we look here, there is nowhere we can go through interstellar travel that will provide the premises for inhabitation. There's no other planet like that. I mean, there is an argument that you could stand at 30,000 feet above Venus, and maybe you can breathe for 5 minutes, but that's the only
Yeah.
place, right? Mars doesn't have a magnetosphere, so we would have to artificially induce that. Uh, Otherwise, we'd be radiated there. We always had to wear suits. There aren't any other places. So we really have to be careful. We have, I mean, the solar our solar system here is what we got, and that is what we're confined to. What we can do is perhaps put solar stations in space, and that is where the development, and if we can bring the payload cost down significantly, it would be more economical to put solar stations in space, and
Yeah.
that's reality. That is where that can be a great contributor.
As climate change continues to exacerbate the effects of extreme weather, whatever it may be, as we continue to see record temperatures every single year, have you seen an acceptance from right-wing governments that have historically denied the existence of climate change, oftentimes in deference to oil and gas? Have you seen more of an acceptance from these governments or a willingness to actually do something about it?
Well, I mean, no one can say climate change doesn't exist, because climate change, that has been a natural phenomenon since.
I can find you quite a few American lawmakers who would be perfectly content to say as much.
No, I know, and I've had plenty of discussions with them. But when you explain to them that this planet has been around for 4.5 billion years, and we've had climate change ever since, and if it wasn't for climate change, we wouldn't be here. Uh, so that because the climate change actually provided us with the environment where we can live as organisms. So there's no doubt about that. But it's a question of how we maintain our existence on the planet. Uh, and here, the biodiversity is such an important part. Also, the oceans are very important because most of the CO2 goes into the oceans. And if they become saturated, they can't absorb more. And that means you'll have this accelerated effect where, the greenhouse gas effect accelerates so quickly there is no return. And that is what we have to avoid at all costs. And we're getting close.
So we're contending with deforestation of places like the rainforest that are essential to combating climate change. We're contending with the prospect of the saturation in the oceans of CO2, and so there are all of these problems bearing down. If you had a magic wand, if you had the ear of every single government on Earth, what would be the steps that you would take to take serious action toward combating climate change in the way that we actually have to, not these bullshit incremental steps that may last 1 year, but then we have another government comes in and undoes all of that work, or starts funding fossil fuel companies, whatever it may be. What would be the steps that you could actually take to truly combat this in the way that it needs to be combated?
Well, it doesn't have to be painful. It's just very simple. We need to put more focus on technology, number one. And we have to invest more in renewable energy sources. There is very promising technology, and I mentioned earlier putting solar stations in space, uh, accelerate even more solar panels. And the more we do that, the economies of scale will bring the cost down even more. And let's say we get way below current oil price at $60 a barrel. Let's say we get that to 30, $40. We don't, the governments don't have to do anything more because this is a no-brainer for everybody. They will do it. But we need to get to that point where it becomes a self-fulfilling investment, in a sense, where people just do it because it doesn't make sense to use oil. For some things, we are going to need oil for some, or petrol, like aircraft. That's not going to change in a heartbeat, but maybe 20 years from now, we can have ceramic turbines. And with technological change, we can get cleaner and cleaner.
How are you thinking about America's position in all of this? I mean, this is the country, the country that I'm coming to you from is the wealthiest country in the world. Obviously, a lot can hinge on whether the U.S. decides to move forward with efforts to combat climate change or pull back from efforts to combat climate change. And so, how are you looking at the U.S.'s involvement here?
I think the US made great contributions. I mean, under Kerry as special envoy, and his effort to make the Paris Agreement happen. Uh, we were on a great trajectory, and hopefully that will continue. Um, there are, you can always criticize various initiatives that are taken under the banner of climate change, but one thing, irrespective of whether you believe CO2 has impact or not, uh, biodiversity is something which is undisputable and is also separate from CO2 emissions in the sense that This is such a vital part of the balance uh, of, well, for the oxygen production and the atmosphere. And without the atmosphere, we're gone. So that is a given that we have to protect biodiversity. It comes before reducing CO2 levels.
And finally, we'll finish off with this. For folks who are looking to help in any way, can you talk about how they can best help? Would it be Cool Earth?
Cool Earth is great. It's really simple. Um, Cool Earth has been around since, yeah, for 20 years, protected millions of acres around the world. It's a proven formula. And the great thing here is that uh, more than 90%, if not 95%, it goes into actually doing stuff, which has great impact. So it's a very lean organization, which is experienced and know what they're doing.
Wonderful. Well, I'll put that link right here on the screen and also in the post description. If anybody watching is looking to do something to help to mitigate the effects of climate change, protecting this land, rainforest land from deforestation is top on that list. So, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.